Should you rinse shredded cheese under cold water before cooking it into a dish? If you need a short answer quick, I will put it right here in post. Avert your eyes if you hate a spoiler. With the TikTok watchers satisfied and moved on to a new video, I can take the time to explain how I got to this point. Someone told me I should try running bagged shredded cheese under cold water. The idea behind the practice is that the water washes off the anti-caking powders that coat each strand, and since that's the major difference between pre-bagged and freshly grated, it could be the ultimate confluence of quality and convenience. So I Google it and I see this is a 5-year-old life hack from Reddit, but it's seeing a resurgence as a semi-viral TikTok trend. Then I read this article that says, no dummy, don't wash your cheese underwater, that's so stupid. But the reasoning inside the article is horrible. Yes, obviously, the best choice is to grate your cheese by hand every time. It's cheaper and less adulterated. But there's no acknowledgement of the convenience that obviously motivates people to buy bagged cheese in the first place. And worse yet, no mention as to whether or not the rinsing trick even works. This article stinks. So I tested it myself at home. I measured 3 25-gram servings of the same store brand Monterey Jack, 1 pre-shredded and unwashed, 1 pre-shredded and washed, and 1 hand-grated off the block. The first observation I had at this stage is that rinsing cheese underwater feels a little grosser than I expected it to. The joy of cooking is partially fostered by the pleasure you derive from the act of preparing food, so introducing a yucky step shouldn't be written off as inconsequential to the final product. Anyway, I melted each serving in between a folded up flour tortilla and then toasted them all in the same pan at the same heat for the same amount of time. I will shuffle these up so I don't know which is which and then run the test. My pre-test disclaimer is that I have 0 dogs in this fight. We will always continue to have bagged cheese in our refrigerator because that's what my wife uses, and we will always continue to have block cheese because I use a food processor to grate it quickly and easily. I just want to see if washing is a valid tactic. First things first, this one is very visually different. You can see that the cheese is sort of spilling out. It's also the only one where the plate is oily. I don't know if that means that the emulsion has been broken. I don't know how delicate that balance is, but it seems as though washing it with water has thrown off that emulsion. I guarantee you that this is the water washed one. It just looks so bizarre even before I cut into it. So I will go start with this one first and see how it stretches. Very cheese-like, very normal in my opinion. I did give these a minute to cool down, so it's not like they're hot off the presses. They're not gonna stretch super far. I already know this one is the bagged cheese. It stretches a little bit spindlier and more translucent, and if you get in real close with these translucent strands, you can kind of see the little grains of cellulose or anti-caking agent. So how did I do, first of all, just by looking at them?
Wow, you did so good.
Okay, well, that solves that then. You know, they're all pretty similar in taste, actually. This one is too runny. It shouldn't be that loose based on how long these have been sitting after cooking. It's behaving as if it's like an American cheese, like it melts too easily. So I'll say that one is the watered down, rinsed, washed one. This one is much milder. This one has some kind of like weird twang to it. This one's just like a mild, normal cheese. This one isn't bad, but it tastes somewhat different, somewhat adulterated. That could have something to do with the fact that I ate this one after this one. They're close enough, but I will say block, hand grated, bagged, pre-shredded, washed. How did I do?
Washed is correct.
Oh.
You flipped, bagged, and you're good.
Yeah, I think the takeaway should be that the taste between pre-shredded and hand grated isn't that severe, and there's really no reason to wash the cheese. So if anyone asks me if they should try rinsing their pre-shredded bag cheese, I will say no. Shredding your own is cheaper, fresher, and it keeps anti-caking agents out of your cheese so that they melt a little better and they taste a little better. But bag cheese isn't that much worse. It's still melted, it still stayed emulsified, and I'd rather have a little potato starch or cellulose added to my cheese than a little bit of water. Can you imagine the outrage you'd see on IG from the community of Reels makers who love fomenting food anxiety? Like, guys, you're not gonna believe this, but the government is adding water to our cheese to water it down. If you're a bagged cheese buyer, but you still wish you could maximize quality without having to grate your own, just buy the thickest shreds you can get. Ultra-fine shreds will have much more surface area and thus more powders relative to the amount of actual cheese. If you're making a big meaty burrito with tons of fillings, you probably won't even notice the difference between hand-grated and bagged. But in a dish where the cheese itself is a major player, like a cheese pizza or macaroni and cheese, you are more likely to notice the slight dip in quality. That covers 2 out of the 3 options. For the wash curious, just don't. For the bag addicts, it's fine. But I owe one final message to the folks like me who happily shred their own cheese most of the time. Let us please cut it out with the sawdust propaganda. Cellulose isn't sawdust. Cellulose is a plant fiber that can come from tons of sources. That being said, a lot of the food-grade cellulose used in processed foods is made from wood pulp, but it's not like someone's scraping up timber shavings off of their workshop floor and mailing it to ConAgra to bulk up the shredded mutts. The worst part about making my couple dozen little shorts about confusing groceries is that so many people leapfrogged my conclusions and then took them too far to remain correct. Like, yes, Cool Whip is made out of vegetable oil, and vegetable oil is pure poison that will give you cancer as soon as you touch it to your lips. Or, yes, prepackaged cheese is lower in quality, and it's mostly made out of sawdust. Just look it up, sheeple. And now that type of alarmist content is its own lucrative genre of short-form media. If the names Baby Head and Goblin Head mean anything to you, please allow me to petition on behalf of their less successful, less Reels-friendly counterpart, Levelhead. Ooh, that's a really good burn for like the 200 people who are gonna get it. Trade has paid to be mentioned at the end of this video. If you can taste the difference between wet, washed cheese and the good, freshly grated stuff, I bet you can taste the difference between stale, old coffee and freshly roasted. There isn't a much better feeling coming home from a long vacation to 1, your bidet. Why do hotels still not have those? And 2, your precious Trade coffee that tastes infinitely better than pods or grocery store grounds. Trade lets you pick a type of coffee. I like medium roasts. The one labeled Reanimator is my current favorite, and they deliver it to your door within 48 hours of its roast date. I like the new collections page where you can pick between single origin or coffees that are best for espresso or best for being served cold. My subscription was set to all espressos, but now that it's 115 out, I'm taking my coffee iced. Give Trade a try. It will transform the way that you experience coffee at home. They are offering your first bag free when you visit drinktrade.com/Shaquille and subscribe. Trade guarantees that you will love your first bag or they will replace it for free. That's drinktrade.com/Shaquille for your first bag free when you subscribe.